Elks Island marketing guy. What we have here is a panel. We kind of started this last year with Josh and Byron. We did a big bait series. We started a Q&A talking about fish and swim baits. What's kind of become known as the glide baits. And glide baits are something that can go from this new little tasty 4.5 that Josh just made. This is a Tato Designs. Actually, all these baits I'm going to show you just because of what I have. They're Tato. We've got a gill here that he can show you. And then your stinking magnets.
They're good, aren't they?
Yeah, they're strong.
Those are some slick boxes, Josh. Where'd you get them? You got your mouth.
This packaging is very unique. This is your basic 7-inch tournament style bait right here. I fished glide baits from years ago. I was part of the team that brought the S waiver from River to Sea into the country. I worked for River to Sea at the time. So I saw the first glide bait that really showed up production-wise in the U.S. This is probably the best one I've ever thrown. It does a little bit of everything. Great for tournaments. And then you can go all the way up into this one. This is Big Tony right here.
That's just a 9.
That's a 9. Actually, he's got a
Tony's
12, right?
13.
And he doesn't mean 13 years old. This is a 9. So you can go even bigger than this. I've seen glide baits and swim baits on Clear Lake that are up to 15 inches long. Very specialized tackle. You're looking for fish that, are built like my leg when you're throwing that kind of stuff. But what we've got here, we've got manufacturers, we've got individuals that started doing this a short time ago. Byron's brought in his friends over here that are all part of the Leviathan Rods team, basically. They are
F5.
And
F5.
F5, okay. But these gentlemen have recently started doing this, if I'm my complete understanding. I'm going to give them a chance to tell what their credentials are here in just a minute. Josh builds the baits. He has a rod line that he builds with Tato. Byron's actually the sales manager for Missile Baits and just got the bug.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go ahead and let these guys tell you who they are by name and what some of their accomplishments are and the number of big fish from 8 up that they've caught. So Josh, let's start with you.
So Josh Heron, Asheville, Alabama, pretty local to everybody. So I started building baits probably 12 to 13 years ago, and I built them. I started building them when everybody out here kind of thought they were dumb when you saw them, and it's becoming a thing. Started wanting to build baits primarily for our local stuff, so that's why the first one out of the gate was a 7-inch. At the time it was huge. Now it's a little bait, but yeah, no, I kind of specialize in fishing glides fast. I fish baits faster than most. So, but anyway, that's kind of how I jumped off. Southern Trout Eaters video was one of my idolized films, and Big Bass Posse. So those are older than some that are looking at me. But, yeah, man. But anyway, so this is Ashton Milan.
Froze up for a second.
Ashton Milan.
Yeah, I'm Ashton Milan from West Tennessee. I'm Ashton Milan from West Tennessee.
Did you have to remember your name for a
No, I just went ahead of his microphone.
Hey, it's his first time, man. I'm a little nervous too.
Yeah, no, it's cool. I got into swim bait fishing. I started out young throwing bigger conventional tackle, and then figured out later on that swim baits wasn't just a California, Florida thing or Texas thing. We figured out we could do it here, so that's kind of just where I started in swim baits. I've helped a couple of different bait builders, not necessarily design, but give them ideas for different baits. If some of y'all have heard of Mike Buka or Bull Shed Swim Baits, the live shed that just recently released, that was me and Mike's bait. The idea kind of combined together to release that.
How big is that, mate? 9 inches?
9 inches together with the tail.
Straight down, go how deep?
It's it'll dive 12 to 14 foot average. That was just one of the things, and then just throwing swim baits to catch and target specifically bigger fish. I kind of get old of catching the same 3 or 4 pounders over and over again, you kind of get in that mindset of wanting to target larger fish consistently. And that's kind of what brought me here.
So fast forward, how many fish over 10 since
Yeah.
you got swim baits?
Since I got into swim baits, I've got 3 over 10,
What's your PB?
11.3. I keep notes of how many.
We're all like that, for the record.
Yeah, he's a weather nut.
Keep track of everything.
Oh no, this guy here has taught me loads about stuff. Like,
I've got 45 fish over 8 pounds, 18 over 9 pounds, 4 over 10, and 11.3 is my biggest. Half of those were actually caught from a plastic Pelican boat.
anybody can do this,
Anybody.
even from the back.
In fact, sometimes those little plastic boats are probably better. Kayaks are probably better
Absolutely.
than the big bass boats.
Like, get
Or that.
sneaky. Get sneaky.
When it comes to being this kind of you're a hunter, you're a stalker. Byron is anyway, but that's
Well, yeah. Byron Childers, Director of Sales for Missile Baits. I live in Columbia, Tennessee. Been in the industry in a sales capacity forever. Like, this is all I've ever done. But got into swim baits 5 years ago, maybe. And as a former tournament fisherman, growing up in Florida, living on or close to Okeechobee, did all that. So I mean, running around in the industry with all the pros, and it's a blast. But like, man, swim baits have just stood out to me because you can catch. You know, I've had 5 over 10 in the state of Tennessee. You know, which I didn't know from a Florida guy that they even grew them that big. And it's highly, highly addicting. But PB is 10 pounds, 11 ounces with 5 over 10. But yeah, no, I'm addicted to it. It's
Which is the thing, you didn't know they were here in Tennessee.
and now I've got 5.
He didn't know they were here in Tennessee where we're from. They're not. You don't often come across fish that size, but we have all figured out that you can use swim baits to draw out or pull out fish that are that size.
Whether it's Coosa River,
but you can
whether
do it
it's
anyway.
a pond in your backyard, you're fishing for the biggest fish that live there.
Exactly.
And so we've all caught plenty of small ones, and we just like them big ones.
My name is Jason Flesher. I live in West Tennessee also, near where Ashton lives. Been conventional fishing my whole life. Had 5 fish over 6 pounds my entire life fishing conventional tackle. So,
What you got now?
and, upwards of 60 over 6 pounds, between 6 and 9 pounds.
How many over 10?
2 over 10. So PB is 10-3. So started
Tennessee.
in Tennessee. So started throwing swim baits. 2019, a buddy of mine sent me a video of Mike Gilbert, Working Class 017 video. And before that 5-minute video was done, I had another browser window open ordering swim baits. I mean, so at the time, I didn't know anybody else here who was throwing them. I didn't know that if it would work in Tennessee. I just knew that I had to try them and see if it would work. And it took a couple of months to really start putting a bite together with them. But here we are 5 years later, and it's just a completely different ballgame. You know, started at 40 years old and started targeting big fish specifically with swim baits. And I'll never go back to conventional tackle.
So I'm about to
This sounds like
It is. Swim bait attitude.
Josh just said this sounds like an AA meeting. Swim
I think it is.
bait addicted people up here going Twitch.
Intervention.
There you go.
So I apologize now. I've had about 4 cups of coffee, so I'm really jacked. So I just let you know. So like myself, I've done tournament fishing. I don't like hearing myself talk, so y'all have to forgive me. So I started out as the non-boater. Done it for years, loved it. Used to fish Gunners Well 2 to 4 times a week. And it just didn't make sense to me. You know, I said, this just, something's not right. These baits are not big enough. I'm looking at panfish, I'm looking at shad. And I'm looking at my baits and I'm looking at an 8-inch gizzard shad and I'm throwing a 2-inch crankbait. It don't make sense. So going back 30 years ago, you know, not everybody had the means to find these big baits. Didn't understand it. So I would come to the lake, I'd go fishing with a 5-inch hard swim bait. People was going, man, what are you gonna do with that? I said, I'm trying to catch a big fish. You're gonna scare the fish. To what? So, there's times you can scare the fish. When it's up on bed, you get a little too close. But 9 times out of 10, you're gonna find out that fish is very curious to that big bait. So I went for thinking, okay, I've got a big bait. Talked to, name is Huddleston, Ken Huddleston.
Yeah.
Said, you know, I can catch all 3, 4 pounders I want. I'm looking for bigger, so I ordered my hook. To this day, I have not caught a fish on the hook.
Guilty.
Cannot figure that hook bite out, except my bites on a hook come from Lake Okeechobee. They will eat a hook. I just have not been able to hook them. That gets into having the right rod, but not every swim bait that you get, you've got to have the specialized tackle. So what I'm trying to say is, whether you're a tournament guy, a fun fisher, you buddy with a tournament, you're out the back of the boat, these baits work. You can make them work. You just figure out your style, and they will get you bit. But I was late into it, and now then it's like, hey, you want to go throw sonar minnow? Yeah, it's cool. I like it. Go catch some fish. So they're not really biting big baits right now. We'll go throw a small. No, you can do that. I'm going to carry the big baits. So that big bait bug will get you. You can get bit. You catch 3 pounders. You can
Catch 10 pounds.
you can catch 10 pounders. They're bigger. So don't be afraid to pick up that Eon 7, 8, 9, 11. You can throw it out here on the river. Just say that this river here is a 9 pound is your big one. You have a chance of capturing that attention and catching that fish on the bait. It works in tournaments. You just got to realize the opportunity and the windows to add that into your fishing.
So since you got into swim baits, how many fish over 8 have you caught on swim baits?
Have no clue. I don't keep up. I like to fish. I tried to be the boater in the tournament fishing. Was bad at it. That's all I'm gonna say. Just didn't understand you're gonna go catch 5 fish that are 12, 14 inches long, and then you're gonna try to go catch a kicker. My mentality when I left in the morning, I was gonna go catch 5 kickers. It don't always work out. Your kicker for the day may be 2, 3 pounders, and you come out in 1/20th of the field. Didn't care. I was after the 5.
I'll get you one.
So
Coffee's got me going. Whatever,
Somebody get Rodney a water.
whatever they got in
A
the
story
chili and
real
the
quick.
coffee is good.
when we brought in the Eon Glide, which is his 7-inch bait, Art Newberryan from up here, he's a California guy like I was.
Also the Spear Point hooks, gentlemen.
Yeah, he's the Spear Point Hooks guy. You see him on Instagram, but he's a swim bait guy. And I told him about these, and he bought one. And within 20 minutes, he's on the water in his Falcon boat that he got from us. Drove from California to here to buy it, and back, and then moved here. And the first bite he got on the thing was 2.5 pounds, and that's a 7-inch bait. And then next thing you know, he's sending us pictures of 3s, and he's sending us pictures of 4s, and that's all within the first week of having that bait. So you will catch good keepers on these baits. Don't think that you're only doing this. You'll catch fish. There's a bait out there called a lunker punker. It's a topwater walking bait. I knew the guy that invented it. In fact, I have one of the first handmade. I've got number 3 of the handmades of this thing, and it's a big trout-shaped topwater walking bait. He made a 6-inch and he made an 8-inch. I threw the 8-inch for spotted bass in California. I threw the 6 for largemouth. I've watched spotted bass come from 20 feet of water to blow up on that topwater bait, and they've been 3 pounds. And it's an 8-inch long bait. So, getting into it, Josh, let's start with you. What's just give a basic setup to get people started with doing this, and then what the mindset is that each of you had getting started.
So my basic setup would be a a 7.6 mod fast, like any 200 size reel work for 7-inch bait. It's fine. 18 to 20 pound fluoro, and basically, I fish rather fast, fish faster than some, but I fish mine like a spinnerbait. I cover a lot of ground with it, and I'm fishing for fish that are in a eating mood, not necessarily trying to draw and trigger. So, but one of the things that kind of drew me into it was essentially the speed at which you could do it. But I throw mine kind of similar. Everybody in here's throwing spook, so I throw my 7-inch the same way you throw a spook. I walk that bait really hard around stuff, and it just gets really violent bites. It's something that I don't think they see that much, but people don't realize that bass live in a world of no point of reference. And what I mean by that is no fish in its natural setting can turn around and look at its tail and go, I'm about that big. They don't understand what that big is. It's not even a thing. Yeah, they don't have mirrors, and they can't justify or quantify how big something is in its world because they don't know how big they are. So one of the things the bigger baits kind of bring to the table is what we call drawing power. And it sounds dumb, but if you think about it in a way of, let's say an average 3-pound largemouth on the Coosa River probably sees about 5 billion shad this big in its life. Nobody has to explain to that fish what that is. It's a threadfin shad that's that big. He knows what it tastes like. He knows how many fins it's got on it. It's pretty stupid simple. The difference is when you are a huskier gentleman and you see 5 billion of these, and then you see a T-bone swim by that's this big.
That's why they make drive-thrus and they make triple cheeseburgers.
Exactly, and that's kind of
All for convenience.
yes, and that is where the drawing power comes into. Is if you've seen something that's this big your entire life, you know how to eat it, you know how to approach it, whatever, and then you're given the opportunity of 3 million of these that you have to eat 30 of, and you're still on a Jenny Craig diet, or you can eat one of these. That's swim bait fishing. It's quality over quantity, and that often correlates into your fish catching.
And I'll jump ahead here, but on something Josh just said, that fish is going to burn more calories eating a bag of potato chips. So, like, if me or any of us, like, we're running around, we can eat a bag of potato chips, and it takes us a while to get full. Well, if we eat a whole ribeye or a pound of bacon, Bubba, we good. And then we can do what we want and chill and get fat.
I agree. But my favorite analogy is like a guy my size. If I had to run back and forth across this building all day long to eat chicken nuggets, count me out.
Something like a bull, like you walk down or something.
Yeah. If you told me there was a ribeye down there at 4 o'clock, I'll wait all day to eat because I know I'm going to get a ribeye. So I kind of use that. Me in swim baiting, I use extremely large baits 90% of the time. I don't catch a lot of fish. I'll be honest, I don't. Maybe if I fish 5 days in a month, I might catch 2 fish, but they're generally giant bass. But I use my favorite bait's probably 13.5 inches. I use Leviathan rods again.
His go-to bait is 13 inches. He starts there and adjusts.
Yeah. Yeah, the DRT Ghost. Yeah, that's where when I get to the lake, the majority of the time that's where I'm starting, and then we'll slowly downsize if I'm not getting bites or the interactions I'm looking for. But that is why I fish generally the largest baits I can get and comfortably throw, and then I fish them extremely slow because mature bass, as they age and get big, they're very opportunistic feeders, but they're very proficient. They've learned they don't have to chase all the little small baits all over the lake. They'll find a spot where they can sit and ambush, whether it's shade under a dock, up against a stump, off the deep side of a point, and that's where big swim baits come in. That's what they're waiting for, is a larger meal to come by.
So like Dan said a minute ago, I equate big bass trophy hunting to trophy deer hunting. So like you got to do your homework, you got to set your stand in the right spot where those high traffic areas are. And so there's books you can read, there's a Swim Baiter's Bible, which the name of it slips me right now, but it's In Pursuit of Giant Bass. Yeah, Jason. So Jason here, I'll pause, is like the most.
Murphy's book.
Yeah. That's like the swim baiter's Bible. But anyway, that'll teach you how to line up your cast, what to look for, where big fish typically hunt, because they're not up there in the mix with the small ones. They're older and wiser, and they're gonna like Ashton said, they're looking for that ribeye. So they're gonna sit up on this stump on the edge of access to deep water. The big ones slide up, they feed, and they're right back down. That's why you catch very few of them.
Angles are everything.
Angles are everything, how you approach it. These guys are way better at angles than I am, I'll be honest. Ashton's taught me a ton about it. First time we jumped in the boat, he's like, man, you're scoping. Where's your angles at? And I'm like, dude, what are you talking about? You know, but like, he turned me onto this book. It changed the way I looked at it. But what I was going to say about Jason here, he is like the current authority on all things big bass history. So I'll let you take it.
I think, especially with the baits you're seeing, like Josh is building some of the smaller baits, and those are great for. Yeah, no. I'm saying, but you got a range
Yes.
of those baits. Yeah, so a tournament guy can pick those up and throw those, and and just catch fish. And you'd be surprised. I've caught fish that were 12, 13 inches on a 9-inch glide bait. So you're gonna catch fish on them if you put them in the right places.
But you got to put the time in.
You got to put the time in, and like these guys are saying, most of my life I went around the lake and I would just start and just go around the lake and fish. When I was fishing commercial tackle, I was a bank baiter. I grew up fishing ponds. Once I started getting into trophy bass and throwing the bigger baits and really doing a deep dive on the history of trophy bass fishing and how guys were targeting them. When I show up at the lake, I've already got a milk run of spots picked out where I think big fish should be this time. And I'm not going to waste my time going all around the lake. I'm going to go and hit those spots periodically throughout the day and try to figure out the timing on those spots with these baits at the right angles like they're talking about. So anytime you can take a big bait like that and get a fish to, those baits have the drawing power. So if you put that bait in the area where the big fish are, the next key thing for me is trying to put that bait in a situation where that fish can pin that bait. So that's what the angles are about. So you're looking for hard edges. You're looking.
And that could be the surface.
It could be the surface. It can be the bottom. It can be a stump. It could be a ledge. You're looking to put that bait somewhere where that big fish not only is drawn and she's curious about that bait. She's willing to put out the energy to try to chase that bait down, but you're looking for the opportunity to put that bait exactly somewhere where she can pin that bait, and that makes all of it.
To give a little, I have a friend. His name is John Villazanko. He goes by Zank. Now he's at Havasu, but he lived in Long Beach, and he fished all those lakes out there, and he makes his own baits, usually rubber baits. But he had a goal one year that he wanted to hit 100 fish over 5 pounds on Piru. And he hit 120 something. And a third of them were over 10 pounds. And what he figured out was where he was throwing the baits was, if he was a trout, where would he not want to swim? So if you look at the water and you figure out, I don't want to be right there because something's going to eat me, that's where he would throw. That's what they're talking about with angles, is you look at something where they can
Fish can pin a bait.
pin it against something that it has less chance of escape, and it could be the surface. Matt Allen and everybody here knows Tactical Bassin.
Excellent place to get started for the record.
Yeah, Tactical Bassin, it's a great.
Swim baits on a basic level, Tactical Bassin.
I've done a lot of work with Matt over the years, and his personal approach out in California, and now he lives at Chickamauga, Tennessee, was his best fish came in the brightest part of the day, on the brightest bluebird days, and they always ate up because those fish can stay down there. The eyes are on the bait or on top of their head. They're swimming around out there in those big largemouth, and he's caught them up to 17. And they ate coming up from the depths and pinned it against the surface, and that's how he caught them.
I fish big baits upfield, which is
That's another thing to talk about. Okay, I want to.
Now, we didn't answer your question about setup, so we'll do that.
That's fine. That's good. We can do that. But what I hope out of this thing, and we carry this stuff up here. Colin's brought in Tatos. There's bull shads up there. There's mag drafts. There's Leviathan rods up there. There's the stuff you need to do this. And what I want people to see is you guys are probably throwing things that you're more familiar with that are the size of what you're used to. How many of you guys have thrown one of these? Is this a big bait to you? Is this a big bait? I'm going to show you something else. Let me see. I'm going to slide it this way. That's the 7-inch Tato Eon Glide. How much bigger is that? Yeah, it's a little bit bigger when you look at this way, but if a fish is going to eat those things, he's going to eat that just as readily. So get comfortable with what you're throwing because it's the size of everything else that you're used to throwing anyway, and none of us hesitate to throw that.
In reality, that's probably the smallest gizzard shad you'll see anywhere. Like if you go to the Tennessee River, this is the tiniest gizzard shad you'll actually put your eyes on.
Probably a couple months old.
Yeah. So, and the other thing is like a 9-inch, 10-inch, 11-inch bait. Everybody in here's probably been to Gunnersville. You're fishing on a grass edge, and there's a wolfpack gizzard shad that are the size of your shoe that come by, and they're always doing the exact same thing. They're going 90 to nothing, going, I don't want to die today. So that's where my fast mentality comes from.
And they feed on thread count.
Yeah. Well, no, we're not here to talk about thread count. We don't like thread
No,
count.
I'm saying those feed on the
Yeah,
thread count.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so but that's the
I
deal
like those now.
is, and that goes back to they live in a world with no point of reference. So when you see these things swimming around, that you see all these great big shad swimming around, or you see these great big panfish swimming around, just understand that's the menu.
They're in fear for their life.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, like the bait fish you are seeing, that's the menu that the things you're targeting eat. So like that whole match the hatch thing. It's true, but it also is true across the board. It's not just match the hatch on the 3-inch thread fin you see swimming around.
Or
Yeah. Yeah. So another example, I said I like to fish fast. When I fish fast, I fish a profile killer. I don't fish like that's a pretty bait. When I fish fast, I fish a bone, a white. I want something with a profile and a color tone. But I also want them to understand that they're going to run up to it and they're not going to brake check it because if they've already come up to it at that speed, that I don't want them to be able to identify it. I don't want them to be able to pick it apart and go, well, this thing has weird scales or it flips this color. I want it to be, I'm a profile, I'm a pattern, eat it or get out the way.
So these guys have told you how they like to fish and they target the fish. We all have boats. We all love to do it. I'm the guy that goes, let's go. Hey, we're 3.5 hours away from the new lake. I'll meet you there. I don't carry my boat. I jump in the boat with somebody else. I'm just as happy in the back of the boat as I am looking on the ground. So who out here knows what a 10-inch mag draft is? How many of you have thrown a 10-inch mag draft? Tied on, throw it. You'll be surprised. We got pictures, 3-pounders, doubled up, choked. So as far as getting in big baits, it's all fun to go out there, learn your angles, but it's just as fun to be in the back of the boat. One of my best days, heaviest bag, I don't remember, 32, 34 pounds. Never caught one over 7 pounds. But they all with that high 6 off the same bait, standing in the back of the boat, just chunking and winding a big bait. It happens. So you can either, if you're the tournament guy, you're the guy that likes to fun fish, you're out with your buddy, you're just hanging in the back of the boat, it works. And like you say, that bait is not much bigger than a triple hook
Super
spook.
spook.
You can go and I think that I'm going to talk to this gentleman down here about the 8-inch Woody. Might need to see if he's got some back stock in there. Plunker, plunker.
He's wanting to buy a plunker.
Oh, yeah. I think I sold them all. He's
See,
probably got.
Actually, I did sell all
I
yours.
actually got
I
it,
sold
so,
all of his.
Yeah, so it's a crazy bait, but any of this stuff is fun to fish. You know, you ain't got to break the bank, but you know, the more, the bigger that you get into it, So the quick little story about how Byron got into this, he may not want to say. So he was fishing out of a John boat at a lake.
A borrowed John.
A
boat.
borrowed
It was
John
before
boat.
my Skeeter deal, if I'm being honest.
Yes. So they're going back. And so he calls me up and he said, "Man, I just caught a 9-pounder on S Waver 168. You need to come fish." And I'm going, "You're doing what?" He said, "I'm renting a John boat. And we're going out there fishing." So it took me 2 years. And all this developed. It's 2 years before I went and fished with him. He kept telling me about these big fish. So this when it started all making sense. Give them something they want to eat.
Match the hat.
Yes. And if you got big gizzard, big gizzard.
Match the hat.
So I will say, he brought up the 10-inch mag draft. There's 8-inch mag draft. There's 6-inch mag draft, and there's 5s. The mag draft's a $17, $18 bait. Hunter fishes pure fishing. The coal shad's a great bait. They go to 6 and an 8. Those are in that $18 to $20 range. You can throw those on just about any flipping stick or whatever you want to do.
Yeah, don't feel like you got to go spend $500 to get into this. Like
But-
buy an S Waver, buy a line through.
But if you decide to go to these kinds of things, I will tell you, if you throw them with underpowered equipment, you will hurt.
And you won't want to do it again.
So the deal is that if you're going to try it, find somebody that you could borrow the right rod from and see what you want to do. We do carry them up here, but if you're gonna buy one rod, it'll cost you $400. The reel's gonna cost
Not
you,
today.
but the reel's gonna cost you $200 to $300 too. But your back won't hurt. Throwing these things if you don't know how to do it, and these guys can demonstrate casting techniques. It's not an overhand cast. It's a lob, and you got long handles, and then you can pin the rod against up against your ribs for setting the hook and fighting fish. You're gonna need it.
Here's the biggest one you're missing about that. All of that is correct. The worst part of that is you go out there, you've got the wrong equipment, wrong
You get
line,
the right bite.
and you stick that giant. It happens. My first swim bait, like big swim bait fish, was 11 pounds 3 ounces. I had no idea what I was doing. I had the wrong equipment, the wrong rod. I just happened to get lucky and land the fish. Most of the time, that does not happen. So you go out with the swim bait.
If it
You
can go bad, it will go
it
bad.
will right then.
You want to
You-
control everything you can control.
At all times, every moment. But that is the part about having the right equipment is you will eventually get that bite. You want to have everything right that we can control so you land that fish.
Of a lifetime, potential.
And all of these guys fish out of glass boats. We have all the glass boats you want out here. Katie, Patrick, Melissa, myself, we can all get you all that stuff. We can give you advantages with electronics. Byron is very good with live scope in big fish. You can give yourself every advantage, but the key to all of this stuff is understanding angles like they're talking about, how to make the right presentations, and then give yourself every advantage to be able to land when you do get that opportunity.
And time.
In time.
Yeah, time can't be overstated because it's crazy in this. When you start doing it, it's going to feel like a complete and utter waste of time for probably the first 3 or 4 trips.
Hunter's laughing.
Yeah, I mean it's what it's going to feel like.
I said, Hunter, you may want to sit in on this seminar. He goes, I've caught one fish on a glide bait. I said, no, you may want to sit in and listen.
So-
Translation, you need to hear
Yeah.
this.
So anyway, I could give somebody every bait I make, and I could tell you to go put in at Shoal Creek and go run around and go throw a glide and go have a good time. There's probably a 98% chance you're going to come back and tell me I would like that 8 to 10 hours of my life back. And I take people and put in at Shoal Creek on the bottom end of this lake all the time, and we'll go catch 17 to 20 pounds of spots in an afternoon throwing a glide. When I say afternoon, I mean like I'm done with work, I got the boat, I went to the lake and fished till dark. And everybody I take to go to do it is like, that's crazy, I can't believe that happens, that doesn't do anything. But it comes down to angles. You can't be overstated. Like these fish eat a certain way, and they position themselves to eat.
They got that big for a reason.
Yeah. I mean, there's a
That's
lot
it.
that goes
That
into
moon
it.
phase right here.
Moon phase is huge. Shade lines. Like if you this lake's a prime example. In the summertime, it clears up a lot. These fish will sit on shade lines, and you can throw your bait 3 feet in a shade line and get bit, and you can throw your bait 3 feet out of a shade line, and you might as well not have made the cast. It's no different than flipping docks. It's no different than drop shotting. It's no different than anything.
So, Mr.
Yeah,
Shelrock,
it's conventional method.
Yeah, the only difference is you're putting the time and place, the right place for a jig. Is that throwing a swim bait is the same thing. It's just a swim bait has its place over a crankbait or a worm or a jig.
so Matt,
Yeah, fish don't swim 20 feet to eat a jig. Fish will swim 20 feet to eat a 9-inch bait.
Absolutely.
No questions asked. Like that, you can watch. Live scope is proved. If it's proved one thing, everything we thought we knew about bass fishing 5 years ago, it's wrong. Wad it up, throw it away. What Doug Hannon was wrong. Make it a T-shirt.
That's a bold statement, Cotton.
It's a true statement. We got told our entire lives that fishing got in foul moods and they went out and suspended over 25 and 30 feet of water, and they lived there because they wanted to be unpressured or whatever. Go shine a live scope out in 25 to 30 feet of water anywhere and watch them things running around like cocaine cowboys, eating.
In 38 degrees.
Yeah, 38, 40 degrees because they are there for a reason, to eat.
so Josh said that he wants 8 or 9 hours of his life back by throwing that glide bait or a swim bait. So you and I have a little bit in common about glide baits. It took me a year before I got my first bite. A year.
And how many did you watch me catch in front of you?
You're watching 8 and 10s drop on the carpet and you're going back, what am I doing wrong? You have to adjust, you have to get your style and start understanding. So there is a learning curve.
But we've all got individual styles. That
But
we
when you get there,
And that's
You're
the
there.
other thing. Every single one of us sitting right here, find what works for you.
Yeah.
Whatever you're comfortable with throwing or trying, try that. Find what works for you and do that. He's different. I'm different. He's different. Me and this guy here share the same exact waters. I'm like, what is he doing?
Yeah.
He's catching fish. I'm catching fish my way. We do. I'm talking about night and day different things, but we're doing it on the same lake. And I'm scratching my head. How is he catching fish doing that? And he's wondering how I'm doing it.
So here's what we're gonna do. Does anybody have any questions? I think I'm sitting here watching people go, "Ooh." I will say this: they're all weird,
Absolutely.
and that's okay. They're all weird. Everybody that's successful in a way does something their own way, and we all get a little goofy. He's asking what kind of depths can we use the glide baits from?
1 to 30.
1 to all of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like surface to all of it.
Yeah, so there's a dude that lives out at Ivy in Texas.
Oh, wait,
that,
Ivy.
yeah, he's got a bunch of my baits. He's adding a half ounce of weight to my baits, and he's fishing them at 35 and 45 feet. And
A glide bait 40 feet down.
yeah, and he's also got, I think, 13 chair lunkers in the past 6 months, and that means 13 plus.
Yeah, that means 13 plus, and then they have to turn it into the state, and then they get a certificate, and then they start growing more fish by spawning that fish.
nothing you try is wrong.
No,
Yeah, agreed. Nothing you try is wrong.
Nothing you try is wrong.
No rule
You'll
books.
just find out if it works or not. But we all think out of the box. We all do things different. We laugh at each other and going, "You're nuts."
Yeah.
But it works.
yeah, I'm sure somebody in here thinks that a Whopper Plopper is the stupidest bait ever, will not catch a bass. That dude's made $100 grand on one. So, I mean, Berkeley Chapo, I'm talking about the style.
Style of it.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, like, everything's dumb until somebody proves you wrong. It is the gist of all of it. I'm sure, like,
Murray, right? Under the dock.
yeah, but all right, chatterbait. Chatterbait came out in North Carolina. Chatterbait was originally designed to fish deep rock at normal. If you told anybody that's what that bait was designed for, they'll tell you you're wrong because Thrift took one to Okeechobee and made
Put it on the map.
100 of the best in the world look dumb.
Put it on the map.
So it's situational. There's no rule books. only thing any of us could give you is a guideline to what works for us. But I can't fish like him. I can't catch a glide bait fish to save my life the way he fishes. I don't fish a ghost like he does.
Nobody does.
No, so that's what I'm saying. Like the things that I do well, they all consider weird or dumb.
Not dumb.
The way other people do, like the way other people fish a glide, like at the speed of smell, makes me want to rip my hair out. So there's no rule book. Everybody's right and everybody's wrong at the exact same time, and that's really the beauty of this game. And you're putting yourself consistently in a position to catch fish of a lifetime.
Yep.
Okay, so any other questions before I turn this thing into a raffle here?
What you got?
You got a question?
What do you want to know? I know you got a question.
You got something.
He's nervous.
He's got a hat that says Minnow Shaker on here, and he's gonna.
He's
gonna
a
wait
swimback
until
guy.
we
We've been
walk on.
talking all
I
night.
know.
Where can you find the 10-inch knife?
I bet this gentleman can get
That's
you.
it. We got 8s up there for sure.
Do you have an 8?
Yeah.
We might
I
have
bet.
a 10 or 2.
I bet they can order a 10.
Colin can order that for you. Just talk to him. Just tell him which color you want.
Albino.
Let's say albino or white.
Albino or whiteback. You nailed it. You already know.
Doesn't matter what.
Okay.
color it
This is where we all
I like MB Gizzard
MB
myself.
Gizzard.
So if I can get the Becca,
Oh, yeah.
could you bring me the raffle tickets, please, and the spinner? So you guys get your raffle tickets ready. We're gonna give a few of these packs away. There's actually a pretty cool little swim bait in there. It's not bad.
And if you guys have questions after, come grab us, talk to us. We'll
Yeah.
walk you through the shop. I'll put a rod in your hand, baits in your hand. Josh makes rods too.
Thank you very much. Okay, so you guys got your tickets ready? I guess we got the first 3 pulled.
What are we giving away?
Okay, I'm gonna let's do this one first. We'll give a Yamaha hat away and a Bass Cat shirt.
All right. Are we doing the last 2? The whole thing. 207375. Yellow ticket. Nobody?
Keep moving. We'll throw it back.
82.
Set them aside.
They're the last three on the side.
No, I don't.
So, 40.
Last 3 is 482. Yellow ticket.
Right here.
482.
Right here.
There it is. Winner.
Just because you asked the right question.
Hey, everybody upstairs, we got a raffle starting if you guys want to come down and participate. Maybe announce on the PA. Is that 3 or 4 done already?
No, one more.
No, we're going one.
Okay, let's give this pack away right here. What's the? On the yellow. Okay, well, we'll set that
Right here.
aside.
Maybe right here.
Oh, you got it? Okay. Here you go, that's that one.
Oh, you keep it.
Okay, we're gonna give away, this is a fillet knife from Pure Fishing. Hunter, do you wanna give this to him, since you're a Pure Fishing guy? Hunter's a Bassmaster Elite Series pro, folks. This is Hunter Schreier.